Hi, today's session is completely based on Entity Framework Core practical session and we will discuss code first approach. So let's move ahead to check out the agenda. So for the first two green session we have already covered, means what is Entity Framework and what is Entity Framework Core and what are the core concepts required to understand the Entity Framework Core. Okay, and for the current session I will create a simple book application from scratch with Entity Framework Core. Okay, and we will discuss how can we connect with the existing database, and in the upcoming sessions we will also discuss how to work with code first approach with the completely new database created by Entity Framework. And these are the other concepts that I will cover in my Entity Framework core course, like design entities using DB context and using data annotation, using SQL Server as a backend, how to use dependency injection, how to use transaction, how to handle conflict, how to work with the change tracking mechanism, and how to use cancellation token, and how to deploy the Entity Framework application on IaaS, Azure, and AWS. So I strongly suggest you toward the previous two green parts like Entity Framework core concepts. Okay, so before I start, I want to show you there are few important points. Like we first need Entity Framework core with our Visual Studio that I'm going to use in the current session and on or for all the upcoming sessions. And the package required is SQL Server that will automatically install the rational and EF core. Don't worry if it is not clear, I will show you just in a few seconds in the editor as well. So for code first approach, we will create first domain classes and DB context classes, and then EF core will connect with the database and we will work with the database tables. And database provider plays a very important role. Like for the current session, we are using SQL Server, but we can use Oracle, we can use MySQL as well. So the concept is exactly same. So generally EF core exists in the data access layer that will be a separate project. So whenever we need to work with them as a in separate project, so we should install the required Entity Framework package or the required things with the help of NuGet Package Manager. Always make sure, even we are using default empty ASP.NET Core application, you should check for the packages, and I will show you in the editor right now. So let's move to the Visual Studio. You can see this is the default application that I have created, and how we got here. Let me show you the steps if you want. Just to finish these initial steps quickly, so I'm just showing you in this way. We first open the Visual Studio, click on create new project, and then on the right hand side top screen we type ASP.NET Core, then we can see the ASP.NET Core application, and that says project template is for creating ASP.NET Core web application. Okay, then we select this one, and then after that create application, and we will type here ASP.NET Core app, and we will provide the name here. Let's go quickly, and we will select the empty template. We are not selecting any other thing, just a simple empty template we are selecting here in ASP.NET Core 3.1. okay, so after doing that, what is the next step? As I discussed earlier, we need to install the SQL Server Entity Framework Core packages. So we'll go to the NuGet Package Manager, type the Entity Framework Core .SQL Server, and we will see the suggested options, and we will install in the solution. Okay, so let's go back to the editor. So now you know how we create this application and how it looks like as of now. So to verify if the required packages are installed or not in our solution, so we will go to the dependencies node and just expand it and check the packages option. As you can see, Microsoft.entityframeworkcore.sql is installed and the version is 503. And if you expand further, then you can see Microsoft.NET, Microsoft.entityframeworkcore.relational is also attached here because it is dependent on it. and the further if you will expand, you will see entity framework core. Okay, and if you want to see where it is in NuGet package manager, right click on the solution, just click on manage NuGet packages. Okay, and here we are, and on the browse tab if you will type entity framework core, so you can see where the very first result is coming. It is installed and the up arrow is showing updates are available for me, and version 503 is installed in my solution, and version 504 is available to update. Okay, so in the install section, we can see there is nothing is showing as of now. Let me cross here. So update is available, install template is here. So this, okay, let me go back to the solution. So now my solution is completely ready. All required packages are ready. So let me start this application. So how it looks like as of now before making changes. So it is building the application. Let's wait. Okay, it is loading. So we can see when we are running this application, by default it is showing hello world. So if you don't know how this application is working, I have already created videos on this. What is the request processing pipeline? So my application is running and you can see right now it is displaying hello world. Okay, so let's start without wasting time. Let me stop this application. Okay, and here we can type uh, practical session on EF core by tech web dots. Okay, there's a gap. Let me tech web dots. Okay, now, so to create a simple book application, I will show you all the concept in very easy way. I will not make it complex right now. As of now, I am considering you understand the basic concept of .NET Core. If not, please watch the suggested videos and you can pick from the card as well. For configuration service, we use this method to add services, and the configure method, we use this method to configure request processing pipeline, and in it we can see we are using use routing, use endpoints, and here this context is HTTP context, and through which we are writing the response with asynchronous way, and from here things are coming. Okay, so first we will go to the solution, right click, add new class, let's give it a name. Okay, it is taking time. Okay, let's give it a name here, book. Okay, yes, okay, so here we go. So now to save time, let me add the properties in this. So these three properties we are using: int, book ID, title, string, and publisher. Okay, so this is my model class, and now I will add another class which will be book context. Right click on the solution, go to add class. Okay, let me type here books db context, click on add. Okay, and this will be inherited by db context, right? And you will click dot period, so it will show you the suggestion db context. Just clicked here. Okay, perfect, and required namespace is already imported. And let me add the piece of. Okay, here we go. So what are the required thing is db context is my class. Okay, and if you are worrying about what is db context and what is db set, I strongly recommend you to watch the video in which I have already explained. So about db context, in the last session I already discussed this, and if I talk about the db set, I have already discussed this piece of thing there. Okay, just check out that video. Let's move to Visual Studio. So DB context is the one which is really taking care of all the activities performed by Entity Framework Core, and it's a combination of doing work for repository pattern and the unit of work. Okay, so we will not discuss much in this session, and DB set we are creating to maintain all the activities that we are going to perform on the books that we are going to create. Okay, so we will override the DB context class method which is on configure, and in that we are saying we are calling the base on configuration and passing the options builder, which is the by default parameter of this. And in the option builders, use SQL Server we are passing here, and we are also providing the connection string. Okay, so for the connection string for the current session, we are using the lightweight version of SQL Server database, which already comes with the Visual Studio, and you can access them by click on View, and you can click on SQL Server Object Explorer. You can see, so this is the by default lighter version of Visual Studio MS SQL DB available on local. So as of now, you can see we have a existing database books. If you need a script of this books database, so I will definitely add that one in the on the blog section or in the GitHub repo. Okay. So for the columns for this DB books, we can see there is 3 columns: book ID, title, and publisher, exactly the same like we have in our book class. Okay. Okay, fine. So as of now, we can see on configure we are providing connection string, and the database is already created, and we are connecting. Let's write some piece of code so that we can work with the database. Let's add few entries in them. Okay, so let's go to the database, check what is the current status of the books DB. So to check the current status of the books DB, right click on it. We will check view data. So there is only one row: book ID 1, title professional C# 6, and publisher Rocks Press. Okay, so let's close this tab. Okay, and write some piece of code. And one more thing, so if you are wondering, we are using the inbuilt Visual Studio database. You can also connect the same database with the SQL Server Management Studio, and let me show you. If I click on connect DB engine, so you can see on the server name we can use the same inbuilt Visual Studio DB, which is local DB MS SQL local DB. And if I connect here, so it will allow me to connect, and here we go. So database expanding books. Okay, click here, new query, and if I type in the editor to show you, I mean we are working on the same DB. Okay, type errors, start from books. Oops. Okay, so there's only one row: book ID 1, title C#, Rockpress. Okay, so let's go back to the Visual Studio. We are in startup.cs class. Okay, let me add one more method here. Add books asynchronously. Okay, and title we are passing, publisher name we are passing, because these two fields are the part of my book class, and we are also passing the HTTP context. Okay, so that we can write it on the response. Okay, so next we are creating the instance of books DB context class. Okay, and then we are creating one object of book class in which we are passing the title and the publisher. Okay, that we are receiving as an input parameter, and then in the context we are calling the add method to add this new book object into the context, and ultimately all the work done by just writing the connection and create the query and just execute on query, that the old way of doing things. So everything will be done by the Entity Framework Core. So we are calling the add method, passing the object, and asynchronously, we are writing the await operation and context dot save changes asynchronously. Okay, that's the best way of doing it in the entity framework core. And then we are calling the HTTP context because the use endpoint method by default using HTTP context to write anything on the response. Okay, so in the response we are calling write asynchronously, and we are using the record result from the previous statement, and record added we will show on the screen. Okay, and this is just simple write async statement, and we are not writing anything here. Okay, so now the thing which is remaining is we need to call this method. Okay, so as of now, if I go to this use endpoint, because this is the last method in my request processing pipeline of entity framework core. Okay, so we are calling this, and we should, okay, remove it. We should give it a name, book name. So like for now, let me giving book one, and for the publisher one. So okay, let me give it a name, publisher one. Okay, and HTTP context. Okay, this is the actual object that we want to pass from here, and give it a semicolon. Okay, let me make the correction. Okay, perfect. So why it is giving green line? Because this call is not awaited. Okay, so it is saying we should use a wait method on this. Now all errors gone, there is no problem. Okay, let me place a point here so I can show you how it actually going to work for us. So let me run this application. Okay, it is loading my browser. So now here we go, my breakpoint is here now. So far on the screen there will be only one statement, practical session on EF4 by TechWeb Dots, but now I've added one more method. Let's deep dive into it. Hit F11. Okay, so we can see all things are set, title, publisher, and HTTP context. So we are creating the object of books DB context. Okay, perfect, it is created here, there is no issue with it. Okay, if I expand it, okay, we can see every object is fulfilled. Okay, so again we will create a new book object, and properties are set. There is no book ID as of now. Okay, so in context we have added, and records as of now saving asynchronously. Okay, so it is performing perfect. So as of now we can see the number of records updated, it is 1, and we are writing on the screen HTTP context response.write records record added. Okay, so let me hit the F5 because all processing complete. So yes, we can see on the screen practical session on EF4, one record added. I know it is a little bit ugly, so let me change the UI, but yes, it is working for us. Okay, solution here, and I will show you in the SQL Server. Just wait a second, SQL Server Explorer, and if we check the data again, view data, here we go. Now we can see the second record that we have just added, book one and publisher. So how simply we are able to insert the records with the help of entity framework core. This is the beauty of this, right? And we are not writing, any connection object, any SQL statement we are passing. It is just pure entity framework core work. Okay, so whatever piece of code that you are saying, that will be available on GitHub, and a link will be given in the description of this video. So far in this video, what we have done, we first create this book class with three properties: book ID, title, and publisher, and then we go to the DB context class, right? And in this DB context screen, we write the connection string, and then we set the DB set, and then we override the on configure method. In that we provide option builder and provide the connection string. And finally, in the startup class, what we have done, we have just changed the text of it, practical session by EFCO, and we add one method, add book asynchronous. We pass the required parameters, and then we add this method with the help of book TV context and create new book object, call the save changes method. And yes, this is one as well. Context add method is very important, which is because without this we will not be able to save our data into the database that I have just shown you. And at the end we are writing it to the screen. So these all steps we have performed to cover agenda for the today's session is, we just create a simple book object DB contact class and we work with the existing database. That's a very simple database, and we have verified our record is successfully inserted without creating any connection, any adapter, any data set, without doing anything, with purely with the help of Entity Framework core. So I hope you like the video. If you like my hard work, please hit on like button, subscribe my channel, and if you have any question, please leave a comment in the comment box. I will try to reply as soon as possible, and your feedback is important. That's the only inspiration for me. And in the upcoming session we will discuss how to create new database automatically with the help of Entity Framework core. So see you in the next video. Bye bye.